Okay, hello everyone. Well, some big shoes to fill in here. Brian, great job. Aiden, great job. So let's continue with our AI talks. I hope you guys are not super tired of AI. So if you are, the bots outside.
Give us more.
Yes. Okay. So, have you or any client or person you know ever said to you, why can't our website search just work like Google? Right? Yeah. So, yeah. It's not an easy thing, or at least it wasn't. So today we're gonna go through a setup that I hope we can fulfill this dream and get a little bit closer to that. Okay. So before we start, I'd like to introduce myself. So my name is Pierre Marcel. I am a senior technical architect. I've been solving problems with Drupal for the past 18 years. I started back in the Drupal 4.7. I wish we had AI. But in hindsight, I made a lot of friends on that Drupal issue queue back in 2006, right? So that's great. So my focus is building mostly decoupled Drupal websites, but recently, for the past year and a half with Aiden, I've been obsessed with AI. And it becomes a problem, yeah. So, but what I'm finding that is extremely exciting is what Aiden said, we now can do things with it. And this is what I want to demonstrate to you guys, what we can do in something that we are very familiar with Drupal, okay? So back in the days, early 2000, I fell in love with Drupal, I fell in love with the industry, building websites, and now I am all excited again because I can get this amazing innovative technology and then just apply it to what we know. Okay? So let's talk about what we are here to talk about. So what is AI-powered search? So AI-powered search is a mechanism that goes beyond keyword searching. So what you guys are used to today in Drupal sites is either a Solr server or we have a database search. So it's all keyword-based, right? So if you know the keyword, you'll find your content. If for some reason you use a different type of keyword than the editors created, you can't find that keyword. So now with some advance in technology and everything, we are able to start doing some of this AI search, okay? So before we dive into this is what Aiden mentioned into his talk. So let's go back an hour ago, what is this? And discuss. So why is it possible for us to do this now and wasn't really before? Because in the advance of technology, we had the two main things that happened. So which was the transformers that Aiden was saying, and also the data that these models have been trained on. So this is the difference than before and now. So Aiden had mentioned about tokens, right? So every single prompt we do within any kind of a language model, we start with a prompt. Even if it's a Drupal site, a machine dealing with AI, it's always a prompt, right? So what happens during that prompt? So we get our data, our input, and then we send up to AI. When it gets there, so basically we have a transformer that will tokenize our data, as Aiden had said, right? So once we tokenize those data, what happens next is we have to now give meaning to it, right? Let me get some water here. Hold on. There you go, much better. We have to give meaning to it, right? And how do we do that? So, like the language models, they don't speak the same language we do. They speak numbers, right? And that's where this embedding, it starts. So, how does it work? We get our data, we push into the model tokenizes, converts into tokens, and then we have another model, we which is called embeddings. What does embedding do? Basically, it's the numerical representation of the data. So it gives meaning to the machine for our data. That's what it does. It converts into a whole bunch of numbers, okay? So in order to understand, this is something you guys will hear a lot. High-dimensional data, high-dimension data. So let's forget this a little bit and let's go in here. So what is one dimension? So let's think about, we have the word dog. We put the word dog in here and then we can move in here. So we can give coordinates to it and then move in here. But there are so many coordinates we can give, right? Because only we can move from left to right. Now, if we give 2 dimensions, things start getting much more exciting. Because what happens is we can move left to right and then up and down. Now, if we go to 3 dimensions, now it's super exciting because we have a box. Once we have a box, we can give coordinates between left and right, up and down, front and back, right? So if you try to visualize that, this is what would be the visualization. Once we are talking about high dimension data, what happens is this gets applied 1,536 dimensions. And what is that? Well, technically it's just features and characteristics of the data. So it's this. Frequency of use, formality, if it's singular, if it's plural, frequency of use, so basically what Adam was saying. So this, I think, is the most difficult part to understand, but now we have a whole bunch of numerical representation of our data. Now AI knows the meaning the same way we do. Okay? So now we have this embeddings. So what do we do with it? Okay, let's start now talk about in the Drupal world. Let's leave the AI and let's go into a Drupal world. You guys familiar with this? Data, Drupal database, data indexing, search API, right? So what we do is we grab our data, we grab the search API, and then we send to OpenAI. Once it hits OpenAI, now it will embed, convert into vector all our data. So you went to OpenAI, vectorize our data, and then now we have it in here. Once we have it here, what do we do with it? When you guys prompt ChatGPT, it does exactly this, but it dies in here. It goes to this local kind of a memory and then stays there and it dies. And that's why the context, it loses the context, right? So what we're gonna do is we are going to put it inside a vector database. So how do we do that? Okay, so what is a vector database? A vector database is a specialized database for storing vectors. So just think like it's a, what's it called, SQL or anything, but it's specialized to do vector data, okay? So the one we're gonna be using is Pinecone in here. So once we have our data in our database, then the goal is how can we search it, right? So now it comes the vector search. So how does it work? Every time we prompt on our site, we send all the way to OpenAI, it vectorizes, it gets back, then we match against our vector database, and then we get our results. So now we go to our old trusted Drupal modules, right? So this is the recipe that we need to make this happen, okay? So basically, we need the search API. Once we install the search API module, then we install the AI module. Cool thing, guys. The AI module now has been pushed to the, what is that called again? To the recipe for the Drupal CMS. Now this is going to be in the CMS. So then we have AI submodule. AI submodule, which is the AI search, it's inside this module here. So you would have to install it, and then once you have that, so now we need providers. What are the providers? So the providers, we need one for the model, and then we need one for the vector database. Which one is that we're going to choose is the OpenAI. So OpenAI is going to be in charge of basically doing all the vectorizing for our data, okay, in here. Then we have a Pinecone. So Pinecone database is the one that we're going to use to store our data, okay? So this is the module that we're going to use for basically saving and storing our data. So then we have the key module. What is the key module? So the key module is basically what we use for storing the keys for the Pinecone and for the OpenAI, all the API keys. Okay? So here's a little setup how we can do the search API. As you know, so we have search API, and then you can choose your embeddings. So here is going to be the model. So here is what is going to take care of the tokenization. Then we choose our database. This is the database name that I'm using. Then here is the metric we use for similarity. So this is one of the most common ones that we use. Here is our dimensions that is used. And then we have setup. Easy, right? Isn't that amazing what Drupal developers they do? So what they did is they basically got what we are already very familiar with, which is the Drupal search API, and they were able to add AI inside it. So here is the Pinecone database. Here are all our embeddings. So see in there, our embeddings, and these are content in there. So the more you push to there, the more we'll have inside this database. Now, how can we pull the information? So this is a UI that we have for testing this type of a search. So as you can see, I'm typing. I'm in the mood for Italian food. What he did, he gave me pasta. So why? Because the AI basically knows that pizza, pasta is Italian food. So notice that there is no keyword in here that is finding here, right? And what is the score? The score is basically what it uses to push content on a higher level. So what we can do as developers, we can start, working with the settings and everything, so we can get better scores and everything. And then we can display our search to our users. So let's go back in here again, and then here. So enter my prompt, my search, and then in your UI, you wouldn't really have any of this stuff in here. Would it be pretty straightforward? Just with a search, and then you get to here. As you can see, this is working today. So even though the search AI is experimental, it's actually working today. So, and this is your data, basically, that we are searching. Okay, so is AI-powered search ready for implementation? Right? Yes, I would say 100%. Okay, 2025, whoever is a developer or content creators, we need to start thinking about it. So, but before we can really implement and integrate, we need to think about a few things. Strategy. It's not because it's AI is good. Sometimes all we need is keyword matching anyways. So why are we going to be doing all of this, right? So we need to define our goals, plan the long term, okay? Integration, very important to our integration. Is that a technical fit with our team? Is that customization? Is that easy to do? What's going to happen in the future? So this needs to be planned. Scalability and performance. don't worry about it. So Pinecone is an amazing fast database. OpenAI, they have so much power. It's so fast that is crazy what they are doing there. Okay, so cost. So cost is something that now we gotta be careful. But it's getting super, super cheap. So I'm gonna give some example. The best way to do is for you to basically just go on ChatGPT and run some scenarios. So, for example, let's give you an example of a website with 4,000 pages, on average 500 words per page. How much do you guys think that would cost to vectorize all that data? Any guesses?
$1.
How much?
$1.
$1? A little bit more. OpenAI needs money, you know. So 50 bucks. So 50 bucks. So go back into your head and think about your client, which one you have that has 4,000 pages with about 500 words on each. So it's fairly cheap, I would say, right? So if we were to go back in 2015, when Google released the word to vector, that was extremely expensive. It was their stuff. Some developers had access to that. And then now, anyone can do this. And for 50 bucks on 4,000 pages, I would say this is really, 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 really cheap. Okay? Okay, so my final words in here is, let's use AI as a means and not an end. So it's not here to replace us, it's not really. Don't get caught up on this AGI, dystopia, negative world, okay? Focus on the present opportunities, right? Focus on solving real problem world, right? We have a problem, which is, I can't find the content that I'm looking for. So let's apply AI, right? Let's just apply AI because we can apply AI. So let's do that way. And if you want to know more about it, so join us, like Aiden said. So we'll be having our monthly meetups, and yeah, and that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pierre. Any questions?
So I have a question about the giving the whole database information to OpenAI. So, because you're sending basically your whole website information to the OpenAI, and then it tokenizes and you get results. So I assume that wouldn't be private if you don't pay, because we had the presentation before that. You know, my understanding is that OpenAI, you have to pay for information to be private. So is there a way, or what is the way if you say the information is sensitive, you don't want to have the AI train on it, but you want to use the AI, but you don't want to have that public. Is there a way, like, is that paying for it going to solve it, or is there something more?
That's correct. So basically, today, if you read the user agreement with OpenAI, so when you go to ChatGPT, that's a product of OpenAI. When you go to OpenAI, the API is a product. So they're not fooling around and messing around, so they're doing the right thing. And we can trust as much as we can trust Google, for example. Right? Remember Google when you said, I'm going to give all my documentation to you, what are you going to do with it? So to me, personally, there is no difference between the two. I trust OpenAI as much as I trust Google or Microsoft. Right? So in terms of the data sharing, actually to me it's less dangerous than having all my documentation in Google. Why? Because this. So imagine how much input we are sending to the models. It's a lot of data, right? So these models are not really saving this data. So if they're saying they're not saving, technically we can trust, right? At a certain point. So they are not storing. So what we are doing is we are grabbing our data, we are passing into their model, they are converting and send it back. So there is no storing at all. The same as when Aiden was saying that it loses the context. Why lose the context? Because they are not storing at all. So I would say in terms of trust, I can trust OpenAI as much as I trust Google. And that it will be a personal sort of a thing.
Thanks, Pierre. This was a great presentation. I was just thinking, and we used to do custom query boosters and field boosters while we were doing search APIs, right? And we still tweak AI algorithms for the search.
Yes, so that is the beauty. So these developers, the way they did is because they implemented within the search API, you get all that power as well. So when the AI search first came, it was its own module. It was just a guy doing its thing. Then they got together with the AI initiative, and then they brought inside the AI module. So basically now it's really baked in inside the search API. So all that goodies that we get and everything, it's all available.
Any other matrices which we should focus on to increase the engagement?
Sorry, say that again?
With using AI, how can we even increase the engagement matrices of the applications?
Oh, 100%. I think to me, there are a lot of sites, I think more than half of the sites we do, a lot of people complain about search. If you think a lot of people here build higher ed, right? So let's say you're a researcher, first year of your PhD, you don't know all the terms yet, right? So I go to, let's say, U of T website, and then I don't know the terms. If I have the keyword search, I'm not gonna find anything. But then if I have the meaning, that's engaging. Why? Because I'm staying at your site. We built a site for Harvard University, and we know that we have a few researchers that they do the search through Google because they don't want to be, limited by keywords. So I would say 100%.
Thanks. I'm just curious, that example of 4,000 pages, 500 words on a page, how long does that take OpenAI to this?
It's super fast. It's I haven't run the 4,000 pages, but we ran, how many we ran?
120.
120 milliseconds.
So it's 120 pages with no, it goes up, comes back.
It's faster than sending you a text.
And it's indexing the pages in real time on the web, like HTTPS indexing? Or?
So what happened is this, right? So once you set up the search API, it's like the normal regular search API, right? So sending to OpenAI for the vectorizing process, we saw basically no change in speed at all. So we send, it comes back. You can basically have both open at the same time, Pinecone. So if we, let me get in here. So what I did is I went, I don't have it in here, but in here you can do your indexing, right? So right in here. So I ran the index for about 20 posts or so, and then I was watching the database in here. As I did a refresh, it was there. I went to one page, click index, went in here, it was here. So within milliseconds, it sent all the way up to OpenAI, got back, and saved into the Pinecone database.
So as a developer, I don't get to just set the indexing and then go.
Oh no, yeah, once you set up, it's automatic. So every time you have, so basically, here's the thing. Once the search API is set up, it's continuing to be exactly the same we do now. So yeah, it's fully automatic.
Have you ever compared this search with that Sora search?
Oh yeah, it's basically night and day, right? So if I had the Solar, the query, the search term I did is I'm in the mood for Italian food. None of the posts had, I made sure that none of those posts had the word food or Italian. No, sorry, Italian. Right? What they had was pasta, it was pizza, right? So basically understood that I'm in the mood tonight to eat some Italian food to give me some recipe. If it was a Solar server, I wouldn't be able to get it. I would get some sort of, Solar has some sort of similarity, right? With some words. So we will give you some closer results, but nothing comparing it to this. This is the difference between like really searching on Google and searching on private websites.
In the indexing, the speed, you say it this way.
Oh, the same. Yeah, I basically, we do a lot of solar indexing and everything, and the speed-wise is the same. Incredible, right? Which one here has the best? Oh, this guy. Sorry. We'll go back in there.
I'd like to reflect my question on one of the slides that you had before. Pardon me, but maybe I missed your point there. So in one of the slides, you were typing the prompt about the Italian food, and then it was a list of Italian food, like they're going down. I saw the numbers on each title there, and the scoring. Yeah, I was wondering, like, what exactly do those scoring like number indicate? Is it more of like a popularity of what users search on, or is it more like the keywords that match on each of the titles? Like
It's the latter. It's the keyword matching. So this number in here, it goes from +1 to -1. So this is the same concept as our embeddings. So because now we are searching a vector with another vector, now it's gonna give me a number as a score. So this number here, so this is giving me 4. That is the closest to here. I have very little data in here. To be honest, I would think that this would be much higher. It would be on an 8, but I didn't really have time to do much settings on this for this example. But this would be much higher because this match exactly what I was looking for. But yeah, this scoring here is basically how similar this post is to this prompt.
Right. So in that case, then the users might, well, let's say, in practice, in reality, let's say users put like some kind of prompt in it, and then what they see is they will be seeing from the top to bottom like that based on the match. But it doesn't really reflect on what the users will be seeing based on popularity at all yet, right?
That's correct. You can, because it's a search API, so you can start changing things in there. So for example, let's say that this field is on your website. And then what you would be displaying is just the title in here, right? So you can start tweaking the scores and how you want in the search API, like you were saying, right? So you can do it in there.
Gotcha, thank you.
You're welcome.
I was wondering if you've done anything kind of experimenting with like having the custom GPTs and like kind of, you know, handling a little bit more for the searches, like kind of combining these different tools that we're getting from Drupal AI, like where you can do the automated taxonomy tagging and just kind of like pulling different things together, and if there's any like diminishing returns on that, if you have done any testing.
Yes, I've been testing a lot. So creating content type, 100%. So Ada mentioned that, you know, the time that his mind was blown was when the AI was doing something better than he could do, right? So here's the thing. So a few years ago, we were trying to do create content type by creating the YAML files. And then as soon as the YAML file would collide, right? So if you get today, the module is called AI Agents that Ada showed. Install is super easy, okay? So install, and then what you do is there will be a prompt that you can tell to go and create a content type. So I did. The fields that were duplicated, you just reuse those fields. Then the field that was duplicated that I said, but the settings were different, it understood and created a new field. Then I went one step further. I said, okay, I don't want to be in the middle in here. So let's get some really smart stuff in here. So what I did, so I'm not using the custom GPT, but I'm using the assistant in OpenAI. So I created an assistant with a whole bunch of instruction how to create documentation for a content type. So once I said, give me an article with a body, image, and all stuff, and it gives me the whole proper documentation and everything. With that documentation, I uploaded into Drupal, and they built a beautiful content type for me in Drupal. So this stuff is all working today. And if you guys are worried about spending money or anything, don't worry about that. All this stuff that I've been running here, they can't even charge me because it's so little. So the Pinecone database, I think I am like a couple of dollars right now. OpenAI, I add credit, and I barely use it. So, and then you have a lot of safe limits in there. So you put 20 bucks, and that's it. So experiment with it, because I tell you, as I said, AI module is now in the Drupal CMS. So which means that you guys can do all of this stuff.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you very much, Pierre.